Rams Seahawks. This
Ooh,
one,
this is
I've been going back and forth with these two teams. At first I was like, "Yo, it's Rams all day," and then I'm like, I don't know. Seahawks they're a pretty damn good team. With the way, but here, man, so
Seattle
I'll,
favored
I'll
about
give you
two and a
I'll give
half.
you a comparison a little bit. I know this isn't
Okay.
the greatest comparison, but I remember the Rams versus the Saints. I remember the Saints were this dominant team. They were just going. They were cooking everybody in their way. I remember their point differential was pretty high. Drew Brees was having an MVP caliber season. Alvin Kamara and that running attack with Mark Ingram, Michael
Michael Thomas,
Thomas,
yeah.
all those guys. They were on a tear that year. But then here comes little old Rams. They still pretty good team. Got Sean McVay. Um, got Todd Gurley who can run the
Mm-hmm.
ball effectively.
Cooper Cup. Yep.
I think Cooper Cup may have got hurt that year. I think he
Oh,
got
really?
hurt. Yeah, he tore his.
Oh,
Yeah, this he got
yeah.
hurt that year, but they still made it to the Super Bowl. I believe it
Yeah.
was. They got Aaron Donald. They got Ndamukong Suh. This was before Jalen Ramsey, but yeah, man, they came through in one of the most hostile environments, and albeit that controversial call, it was a very controversial, arguably the most controversial call in NFL history. But they won the game in
Mm-hmm.
overtime. The Saints had an opportunity in overtime, and they could not win it. And I bring that up because this feels a little bit similar in the sense that both of these teams, they've been battling it out for the number one seed the entire season. Both of these teams have been really good this year. Rams are going into a hostile environment. See, my head is saying Seahawks, but my heart is saying Rams.
Mm.
So I'm conflicted right now. Because on one end, I'm like, can the Rams O line hold up against the Seahawks defensive line for 4 quarters? But then I have to look at from the perspective of, well, can Sam Darnold, is he good enough in these moments?
Is he going to be healthy enough?
That's a good point. Is he going to be healthy enough and he's going to be good enough in these moments? Will he rise to the occasion? Because I don't believe he can do what he did against the 49ers and just solely lean on the running game to win you the game. I think
They
he has to
definitely want
make
to
some
load that
plays.
box. Yeah.
So that's
Especially
where I'm
since you don't have
conflicted.
Charbonnet. Yeah, they're going to load that box.
That's where I'm conflicted. I'm like, do I trust my eyes on what I've seen with Seattle for this entire year? Or do I go with old reliable Matthew Stafford, Sean McVay? They've been there before. Hey, they almost beat Seattle in Seattle. If a couple of plays bounced there, if Devontae Adams were healthy, maybe they would have the number one seed. I'm going to go with old reliable. I'm going to go with my heart on this one. I'm going to go with Matthew Stafford. I'm going to go with Sean McVay. I just think Sam Darnold, his health being a question. I think this moment, I don't know if Sam Darnold is built for this moment. I don't know if he can make enough throws in this environment to beat the Rams. So I'm going to go with the Rams in this scenario.
I'm going to go with the Rams as well. And it's
Wow.
for a multitude of things. This really wasn't that hard of a pick for me. It's just I feel like the Rams have been tested more in these playoffs, and they show that they are a team that is resilient and can face adversity. Where the Seahawks, they had a bye week, then they just ran through the 49ers, the super injured 49ers at that. The talent discrepancy was just so wide that there was no way that they were going to lose that game. So they pretty much met no resistance in that game. But the Rams, their first two games weren't all peaches and cream. So I'm gonna go with the Rams here. I feel like they're the more battle tested team. Um, they have the most experience when it comes to, like I said, Matt Stafford won the Super Bowl with McVay and all them good guys on the defense as well. And simply because what better Super Bowl to pitch than a Rams versus Patriots rematch? Also, including 2 of the top MVP candidates, even though that award gets announced before or after the Super Bowl. I can't remember which one. I think it's announced after the Super Bowl. But yeah, I mean, that sounds like a good storyline to me. So I'm gonna go with the Rams. It's gonna be a close game, obviously, because the Seahawks, they're no punks or nothing. Like Mike McDonald gets them boys ready to play game in and game out. I mean, only had 3 losses on the season. But yeah, I'm gonna go with the Rams. Go with the Rams.
Do you think you know who the Rams remind me a little bit? They remind me of the Buccaneers in 2020. I'm reminiscing a little bit. Like I remember the Buccaneers. They weren't as good in the regular season as the Rams. I feel like the Rams were a bit more consistent, but there was always that question of, are they going to put everything together when it matters most? And in the playoffs, they had a close game against Washington. Against New Orleans, they did somehow kind of dominate New Orleans for the majority of that game, and only had a 10-point win. Against Green Bay, they dominated for the majority of that game, but it was still a close game. But obviously, you had the veteran quarterback in Brady. You had Bruce Arians, who's been there for a while, the veteran coach who's won in the league before. And then you had a really good running game with Fournette. You had a decent O-line. You had a pretty good defense, that front seven that they had. I look at this Rams team, and it kind of reminds me a bit of that Tampa Bay Buccaneers team. I think.
Didn't that Buccaneers team win all their games on the road too, besides the Super Bowl? Because it was literally in Tampa.
Neutral site, yeah. Literally, they had to go on the road for every single game. And like you mentioned, being battle tested, I look at this Rams team, and I agree with you. They're battle tested. They almost lost to the Panthers. Buccaneers almost lost to Washington with a backup QB and Taylor Heineke. Against New Orleans, they definitely put up a way better fight, something that the Rams couldn't do. But I felt like that defense, besides the Chiefs game, that was probably their best performance in that entire run. And then Green Bay, they had the game won from start to finish, but Green Bay was still trying to fight back, still trying to climb back. I think this Rams team is similar to that Buccaneers team. And I think in these environments, like in Seattle, it's going to be loud. I still believe this Rams team have the ingredients, have the players in place to win this football game. So I'm going to go with the Rams.
Yeah.
Please give me a Patriots versus Rams, please.
We're getting Stafford versus May. I can feel it. I can feel it in my gut.
Please. I do not want a Sam Darnold versus Drake May or a Sam Darnold versus Jarrett Stidham. If we get a Sam Darnold versus Jarrett Stidham, that'll be the death of football.
Oh, the death of that's a little dramatic, but it would be hard to market. I'll tell you that. It'd be hard to market.